A very good day to you and welcome to the Morning Latte Game Changer program of the day. This program has been proudly brought to you by Conrad Adenauer Stiftung. Local government councillors and members of parliament are vital cogs in a representative democracy. And of course, we know that, well, some say that they act as conveyor belts between citizens and governments. MPs are constitutionally mandated to help manage and represent the affairs of the people in their areas, you know, ensuring functions such as social care, housing, planning, waste collection and licensing, and so much more. Today we're going to be talking to some of our MPs. We've been talking about voter apathy in Zimbabwe. We've been talking about the loss of trust that citizens have with their MPs. And we really want to hear from the horse's mouth what's really happening with MPs. They are not as effective as they used to be, and they've lost the trust of citizens. And they could possibly be the cause of citizens actually not going out in their numbers to vote. We saw the low turnout during the by-elections. And of course, we see a lot of young people saying that, what's the point if I vote? Because at the end of the day, I don't even know my MP. To join me for this conversation, I have Honorable Hamauswa, who is the MP for Warren Park. And a little later on, I will have Honorable Tofa, who is the proportional representative for Bulawayo Metropolitan. Honorable, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, you're welcome. Greetings to our listeners and our viewers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Firstly, who is a member of parliament? I think maybe if we start from there, then we can understand or break down your duties.
Basically, we are looking at those who are elected to represent the people in
Right.
parliament.
Right.
In the case of Zimbabwe, those who sit in the House of Assembly. Like in the case of Zimbabwe, we have 210 members of parliament. That is 210 constituencies. Then we have also the proportional representatives who are elected according to, or appointed according to the popular vote. Each part participating who have got in the election. Right. So this is those are the two types of MPs we have in parliament. Yeah.
Honorable Hamauswa, you've made it very technical. So bring it down on a citizen level. Who is the member of parliament to a citizen? What is your mandated role?
So a member of parliament is the one to the citizens who represent them in government, who takes their problems to the attention of the government, who brings solutions from the government to the community and to the people they represent. Yeah, he is someone who then plays an oversight role over the government actions or agencies of government. Wherever there is a problem and the government institutions are not doing their mandate well, it is now the role of the member of parliament to represent the people. He is also, in the current setup, the one who leads development in his constituents. But there is also contestation to that role, that the MPs should continue to play an oversight role, not leading in terms of development, because it will be also brings in a conflict of interest. Being the one who is managing, say, the developmental role comes because of the Constituency Development Fund. And now, because of the economic situation in Zimbabwe, the MP's role in development is actually broadened, because you find that people expect an MP to do a lot of things. If I was going to share with you the messages that I receive, people would then request all sorts of issues that you might think of that affect the people. They are even to help people, even up to the grave, burying the people. Yeah, but also as a member of a community, there is nothing wrong to play those social roles. But it is growingly becoming sort of as that's the actual mandate. And so MPs will go further, maybe extending to some activities that can be deemed as vote buying. You'll find that MPs have to sometimes pay school fees because we don't have social support systems that are adequate. So MP becomes the most approachable person who is elected, mandated to help the people. So because also we are supposed to be holding the information we get from the citizens with confidentiality. So the people are free to engage the MP with their challenges in whatever form. So the developmental role of the MP in Zimbabwe is actually broader than what we might actually think.
Interesting. So, you know, it's quite interesting that we have a few stats from Afrobarometer, and what they did was they did a survey of how much people trust their MPs and, you know, the sort of support that MPs are giving back in the community. And it seems as if a majority, 61% of Zimbabweans, disapprove of the performance of their MP. Why do you think there is this massive disapproval of you, the MPs in Zimbabwe at the moment? When we actually look at the stats, Honourable, it seems as if in the 2008 up to probably 2015, your ratings were quite high, and then they started dropping. So what do you think could be the cause of this challenge?
First of all, I would want to appreciate the research by Afrobarometer.
Yeah.
And I will look into it. But what I can say, there are a number of factors that can be the cause for this, maybe disapproval, maybe huge number or percentage of disapproval. First of all, I will say this current parliament was affected largely by COVID-19, and gatherings were not allowed, and it has been difficult for most of the MPs to carry out their duties. But it was also an opportunity for MPs to go around, you know, seeing how people are faring due to COVID-19. I will give you an example. In my constituents, I went around distributing masks and also engaging the business community to provide PPEs to the people at the markets, and also attending funerals, also educating the people. But to call for gatherings, it has been somehow difficult. But also, I would say there's also been an increased engagement through social media, the engagement between the MPs and the citizens, whereby the citizens can now even WhatsApp the MP when there is a problem, as a support or problems with sewer. But the other issue is we have been also facing unprecedented economic challenges, maybe that are reminiscent of the 2005 to 2008 period. Yep. So you will find that whenever we call upon the government, the executive, to deal with particular issues, we go back, we go to parliament, we say, I need this road to be repaired. Yeah. The minister would say, I will look into it. I go back with confidence. I tell the people that the minister said these roads will be repaired. But the residents will wait maybe for 3 years. In the case of my constituents, we even went to council in 2018, and we were promised that 3 roads were going to be repaired per ward. So these were going to be 6 roads in my constituents, because I have 2 wards. But now I can tell you that the roads were only repaired this year. Only 1 was repaired, and the 2 roads are going to be repaired in Court Comfort. But the promise was made in 2018 that 6 roads were going to be repaired in my constituents. So the people that I have told in 2018 that these roads will be repaired, then they will say the MP was lying to us, and then they will lose, confidence. Yes. But what we need to do maybe more is to continuously engage the people, to tell them why maybe the roads have not been repaired as was promised. I'll also give you another example. I brought into my constituents, because of the issue of water, ministry officials, and I also engaged the Ministry of Agriculture, responsible for drilling boreholes. They promised me in 2019 that they were going to drill 3 boreholes in my constituency.
Yeah.
That was not done. But I then, again informed the residents that we are going to receive 3 boreholes, but that was not done again. So now the people also end up accusing MP of lying because the government is constrained. The ministers will always give responses that we will do this. And also the other thing, I think there is also a misconception on the role of the MP, because my role should be representative, where I pick the issues from the people, I report to Parliament. I then call upon the executive to intervene. I can do this through written questions. I can do this through maybe questions without notice. I can also maybe push for a motion. I can call for a ministerial statement for the minister, responsible minister, to come and clarify on what is happening. But the citizens, they largely think the MP is mainly for the developmental creation of jobs. Those are some of the things that then the people expect, that when MP is in Parliament, he should create jobs for them.
Honourable, let me stop you there, because as much as, yes, you're saying that there's this misconception about the role of MPs, but we go back, and this is a conversation you and I have had before, that as much as you're going back to Parliament with the written questions or the certain grievances from citizens, a lot of citizens now believe that Parliament is a toothless bulldog, because as much as you then petition to the executive and nothing is done. So what is the MP's role? Is it just to write the grievances and then you tell the citizens that I've done my part, guys, so let's just wait on the executive? I mean, how do we fix that challenge? Because it's obviously a serious challenge.
Okay, as an MP, one of the aspects that, or characteristics or qualities of a good MP, you should be a good thinker, right. Should provide thought leadership. You should also be a decision maker. You should be able to make decisions whenever there's a problem. We will not complain that the people are not satisfied, but we take that as a, as a reminder of what we are supposed to be doing. Right. So whenever we have a situation whereby what we are demanding for the people, the government is failing to deliver, maybe on our behalf, we then can engage the citizens as well. So we walk along with the citizens. In my constituents, I have managed to encourage the citizens to form resident associations. Right. And through that way, we know there is no government in this world that will not respond when the citizens rise up. Right. So when the citizens are enlightened, I found it to be a way which will bring the government, to the doorsteps of the voters, the doorstep of the residents. And I will give you as an example that now we have a road that was repaired, Ganges. It was because we joined hands with the residents of Belvedere in Ridgeville. So we said we have to go together to the Ministry of Transport and to Council. So because we joined hands with the citizens, and that road was actually repaired, and because the government would then say maybe we are responding to the citizens, right. Then the same happened again to Cold Comfort. Our road, currently, it is the works have started. It was also a result of a combination of the work between the elected official and the residents through their resident associations. Right. So when you join hands, so it is because we are then thinking outside the box to say beyond just writing a statement. Yes. Because just going to Parliament, it provides a proof that I have raised that issue in Parliament, but that will not bring a solution alone to the people. But when it is not working, I go back to the citizens. I then engage other people within the constituents who are also influential to say, this is the problem, we have tried this route, it failed to work. Can we try another route? So we can also even bring in the citizens to write petitions to Parliament. So this brings also another route where Parliament can actually be proof to be actually a truthful bulldog, because they can come now, they can bring in a portfolio committee. Let's say we are dealing with an environmental issue. When the residents petition the parliament, then a committee on environment comes actually to the particular constituents and deal with a certain situation.
Right. So just before we go on a short break, as we bring in Honorable Tofa, let's talk about corruption. According to Afrobarometer, about 4 out of 10 citizens think that most or all MPs and local government councillors are involved in corruption. And we've obviously seen land corruption issues growing rampant, especially in urban areas. What are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, I would say it is research by Afrobarometer, but again, if they had managed to support that by evidence to say possibly what the people, this is the perception of the people that we are now dealing with.
But we have seen cases of land corruption.
Yes, what I can also say, in terms of land, MPs are not involved.
Right.
They can be, they are not involved as per their duties.
Right.
As per their roles. They are not mandated to deal with land issues.
Right.
It's a no-go area for the MPs. You'll be shocked that most MPs, they don't even have their own space to stay. It's difficult even for an MP to get a stand, even within the constituent they represent. Yeah. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, if the statistics were correct, we were going to have MPs with multiple, pieces of land. Right. But that is not the case. But maybe with councils, because they might be involved also, but there is no corruption that can be successful without the involvement of the central government. Right. If the central government wants to stop any corruption within our councils, they have everything within their reach to stop any kind of corruption within the councils. But you see an unholy alliance possibly between councillors and the Ministry of Local Government. Then they can join hands to loot land. And if an MP is involved, maybe he has been a land developer before or a land baron before he became an MP. But not necessarily that MPs have opportunities to acquire land corruptly. It's not really true. Right. Yeah.
Well, after the short break, we'll continue this conversation with Honorable Tofa, who's the proportional representative for Bulawayo Metropolitan. As, of course, we look into voter apathy, could the lack of, effectiveness of MPs be a cause for voter apathy as we draw closer to the 2023 elections? We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to the Game Changer program, proudly brought to you by Conrad Adenauer Stiftung. Today we're talking about the role of MPs. And it's quite interesting that a lot of people have different misconceptions around the role of MPs. Just before the break, we were talking to Honorable Hamauswa of Warren Park. And, we have been seriously concerned about the ineffectiveness of our MPs within Zimbabwe, the loss of trust, the disapproval from citizens, and we're having conversations about what really happens when they get into parliament. If we have grievances as citizens, what happens in parliament? And at the end of the day, they take it up with the executive or with the ministers, and if nothing is done, then what is the solution there? Well, right now I'm with Honorable Tofa, who's the proportional representative for the Bulawayo Metropolitan, and we're going to be talking about the loss of trust, which has a ripple effect to voter apathy, especially as we draw closer to elections, especially when we look at the low turnout, especially of young people in registering to vote and voting. Honorable Tofa, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. And I'm sure you were listening in to Honorable Hamauswa, and he was talking about misconceptions. I could feel a little defensiveness there. I mean, tell me, why do we have the citizens losing trust? And I'm taking these stats from Afrobarometer, and it seems as if the trust has been decreasing over the years, especially when it comes to Parliament. MPs, off the record, Honorable Hamos was saying some of the people within his constituency don't really know him as the MP, of course, as much as he attends funerals and all of that. So where is the challenge there? MPs are not communicating with the citizens, but at the same time, this is having a ripple effect as we draw closer to the 2023 elections.
Okay, yes, there's a huge problem of not knowing, not understanding by the citizens. The citizens don't know their roles vis-a-vis the councillor, the MP, and government.
Right.
That is the biggest issue that I found when I became a member of parliament.
Right.
So you will find that when they approach the member of parliament, they approach the member of parliament with every single issue. To do with roads, like Honorable Hamauswa was saying, to deal with water, that is all local government. So we have a mammoth task. What I normally do when we go out and have report back meetings, because I'm a proportional representative, so when I'm given the opportunity to talk, I then use that opportunity to educate the people so that they know what the role of a member of parliament is. Most people don't even know that they have the right to a member of parliament.
Right.
They don't know that they can actually call the member of parliament. They've got the right to his or her phone number. They've got a right to call a member of parliament to where they are, so that they can listen to maybe ideas that they have, challenges, and also that most citizens think that a member of parliament has all the answers. They don't realize that they have the problem, they know what needs to be done, and they have this fear of offering or proffering solutions. So the citizens need to get to understand that that is their role. And another big problem that I feel and have found is that our citizens, when they elect, don't even know why they are electing. Our politics is, our elections are not issue-based.
Right.
So even when people complain, they're not complaining about issues that they should be complaining about. Another example I can give is I'm sure Honorable Hamauswa spoke about our roles, legislative, oversight, and representative. When we are doing policies and laws, I find a lot of people say, our MPs are doing nothing. They haven't changed. Look how they changed that law, and look how they did this. People don't know that we, as members of parliament, have no right to make any laws, because the laws are supposed to come from the people.
Right.
Section 141 clearly prescribes that we have to have citizen engagement. For example, the marriage bill that we had.
Yeah.
We went around and we met with or engaged with citizens around the country, and the citizens were not happy, and they made noise. And section 40C was withdrawn, and that part of the marriage bill was changed. So these are the things that we need to work on as a government, as a nation. We need to educate our people. I speak with confidence when I say that, because before coming to Parliament, I had the same perception. And, you know, when we were campaigning, I said to the citizens in my first term that I won't be like other MPs and spend all my time in Harare. I'm going to be in the constituency most of the time.
Right.
And your 3 roles call for you to be in Harare in Parliament, or maybe 2.5 of your roles. Your representative role, you have to go and consult with the people and come back with what they tell you to Parliament. So most of your time you will spend in Parliament.
Right.
Then you spoke about voter apathy. Voter apathy comes again from lack of knowledge and understanding of why people have to vote.
Right.
When people vote, they don't know that government is supposed to facilitate for whatever they wish, whatever they aspire to be. And they look at government as a demigod, if you like, or even members of parliament. You will go to a place and we are their servants, we are their conduits. We are supposed to be offering servant leadership.
Right.
So you get to a place and you are then treated, I've heard some people call other MPs chef. And that is where the citizens actually go wrong. They need to know that they have power over the MPs.
I think that's quite interesting. And I just want to go back a little bit to what you were saying. Citizens actually don't know that their role. And it's quite interesting how Honorable Hamauswa gave an example of how they've created resident committees within his constituencies, because he was saying that no government is able to ignore when citizens obviously rise up and talk about their challenges. So are you saying that MPs are playing a complementary role for citizens and they complement each other? If, for example, if I as a citizen have a grievance within my community and I pass it down to you as the MP, and the MP is obviously going to represent me in Parliament if there's a road issue or a water issue, but we get stuck when it comes to executive or ministers. And that's one big question. How do we deal with that if at the end of the day, you know, you've done your part as MPs, but nothing is going to be done? Just like Honorable Hamauswa said that there's a road that was promised in 2018 and it's now 2022 and finally they've just fixed one road. How do we deal with that challenge? Does that mean that ministers or the executive don't really take MPs' grievances or petitions seriously?
Okay, if you were listening to, when you were listening to Honorable Hamauswa, he spoke about roads and he went to council because he's trying to guide the citizens to say, if you have issues with your roads, you go to council. Yes. And if you don't get any joy, he then takes it to Parliament. We do have a problem with executive. I've felt the frustration. Particularly at the end of my first term and during this is my second term. Right. You find that with every term of parliamentarians coming in, you will find the same debates that have gone on, year end. For example, children being thrown out of school because they have not paid school fees. And yet the Constitution clearly states that education is free. We have free education, we have free maternal health care, maternity when mums want to have their babies at hospitals. You will come to Parliament, you will put a question through, like on Wednesday, to the Minister of Education and say, Minister, what is government policy with regards to children being thrown out of school? No, it is wrong. The school head should not do it, and blah, blah, blah. And then you say, can you put out a statement? But you see, there's no sincerity.
Right.
You will do a motion in Parliament, and the minister will wind up that motion and he'll make recommendations, but you'll find that it's not implemented.
Right.
So MPs are like put into a boxing ring with their hands tied behind their backs. So we do as much as we can because our roles clearly guide us. We cannot do more than that in Parliament. Right. We are overlapping our roles in the communities, like Honourable Hama also was talking about, where you're going to funerals, where you're dealing with local government and you're dealing with hospitals, any little issue that takes place within your community. When people see us, they see their solutions are over. You know, they look at you in your eyes, and sometimes you want to disappear because this person will tell you, Honourable, I don't have school fees. My child is not going to school. Can you please pay my school fees? Now that person is talking about them. They only see themselves. You have a constituency of about 20, 30,000 people. And all those people have different issues and different problems. Yeah. So the economical situation is what is causing the mistrust or people losing trust of members of Parliament because they are being deemed useless. They cannot help them. And also, because of the economical situation, there's no financial liquidity. Yeah. We do our budgets when it comes to budget time. Yes. You'll find that our social welfare, Ministry of Social Welfare, in my opinion, is defunct. It's non-operational. You will find that if somebody goes to hospital, they are told if they're unemployed, they must have filled in forms at the social welfare before they came to the hospital. I didn't know that you can have an appointment to get sick. So it's things like this that need to be sorted out. Right. Yeah, so our executive is where the problem is. There is no accountability with the executive. And I also feel that there is no cohesion when they have their meetings at, what is it called, Politburo meetings or whatever they are. You'll find the minister will come in and implement something that has not been walked through. They haven't seen it to the end. Yeah. So, for example, you talk about when the bond was introduced and we had pre-budget meetings. Yeah. I am on record, and so are many other MPs, that said, no, we cannot have the bond because we don't have anything to back it. Let's stay with the US dollar until our currency is strengthened. We do want our currency, but only at the right time. And now we're going backwards, back and forth, and the economy is on its knees. Is that the MP's fault?
Thank you, Honourable Tofa, for that. But it's quite interesting as well that we talk about COVID-19, which is something that Honourable Hamoswa, as we round off this conversation, there was a cushion apparently that each constituency or, citizens were supposed to be given who were disadvantaged, of course. During the COVID-19, as we still go through it, and we still see that our economy is sort of dwindling right now, how do you deal with the challenges of COVID-19 as an MP? And of course, you talk about the lack of a strong social care system within the country as well, where we have community members that have challenges, but they constantly go back to the MP and say, my child doesn't have. How do you deal with all those issues?
It's very difficult as an MP, like everything else. People do come to you. I have a typical example, and it's actually, if you Google it, you'll see, where members of a community in Bulawayo, which is peri-urban, Kabacha or Hazelby Farm, got my number because I do business cards that I dish out like 200 every week so that people can get in touch with me. So he got in touch with me and he says, look, Honorable, we have a problem. We have no mealie meal. We have no food. And the lockdown does not allow us to go into town.
Yeah.
When you get to the police roadblock, you have to go back. So they then said, please, can you help us? We don't want you to buy us mealie meal with your money. We want you to help us access the mealie meal. And I went over to them. I asked them to write their names, and I went to a miller, organized the mealie meal. And this is like 100 houses in this setting. When you get back, the list that is written by every citizen. As a member of parliament, you are an MP for every citizen.
Yes.
You do not wear your political jacket when you go and see people. So they all wrote on their own. We came back. They then tried to politicize it and went and report that something was amiss, although I had gone through all the channels.
Yeah.
So just to cut a long story short, we need to always be prepared. We should learn from our mistakes.
Right.
To say we should have a social net. And MPs, councillors, ministers need to sit and brief each other on what processes will be done. Because the people then don't struggle if we are organized. We are very disorganized, and the people in turn suffer. They had no soap to wash their babies' clothes, they had no salt, they had no... The basic things, they had absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
The young girls couldn't go into town, or women couldn't go into town to buy their pads.
Right.
And, and if they had women problems and they wanted to go into town, they couldn't get on the bus. They'd be made to jump off the bus or the combis or whatever form of transport is there. So we need, we have spoken in Parliament. We have narrated all the problems that we have had during the COVID period. But we still have not sorted it out.
Lastly, Honourable Tofa, you talk about not sorting it out, and we still go back to the issue of you saying that MPs are being put in a ring with their hands tied. Is there hope? So, I mean, what is the plan there? How do we, or how do MPs start effectively operating within their communities? How do the grievances actually, well, they're obviously heard, but how are they then implemented into, a positive effectiveness within communities? First
of all, most important in any organization, in any institution, in any government, is management. You need proper management. So I would say that our hope that we have is getting as many people as we possibly can to educate the people, to get them to register to vote and know why they're voting.
Right.
And for the people to know that they have the power in their hand to bring the government to account, to bring the MP to account, to bring the councillor to account. Everybody must be accountable. Because the current system knows that the people don't know their rights. They don't know how to exercise their rights, to express their rights.
Yeah.
We will continue going into this deep, dark hole.
Whose role is it to educate the citizens? I mean, just talking about MPs, we have 91%, and this is from Afrobarometer, of Zimbabweans saying they had no contact with their MPs. And that's a serious challenge. So is it the role of the MP? Is it the civil society? Is it the government? Is it parents? Is it the kids or the teachers within the schools?
It's a pity I don't have your report, because what would be of interest is of that 91%, how many of them are registered voters?
Right.
Because if you are a registered voter, you are actually expressing your view.
Right.
And you will find that of that 91%, 1%, you probably have maybe 38% registered voters there.
Yeah.
So that is where our problem is. And I've actually said this in Parliament as well, is that we need to put into the school curriculum the understanding of voting, the understanding of electing someone. Like you have in Australia, your prefects, children vote within a class. They vote for monitors, they vote for prefects, they vote for head boys. So it's inculcated in their system. If that prefect or that head boy or that monitor is not doing well, he is sat down with the class, given another, told what areas he needs to look at or she needs to look at, and if the monitor or the prefect doesn't do well, they get another prefect. So it's within our system, in our being. Because I can speak for myself. I only started voting after I had my third child. I was already married. I didn't know the importance of voting.
Right.
And it's very convenient for any system that wants to control people to have people not knowing why they vote.
Right.
Just give them a cup of rice and...
Well, that was Honorable Tofa, who is the proportional representative for the Bulawayo Metropolitan. And of course, before the break, we had Honorable Hamauswa from Warren Park. He represents Warren Park. And today we were just talking about the role of a member of parliament. There are serious misconceptions around their role. But, you know, they are also concerns or challenges as well when they do take grievances into parliament. And they say that we're getting into a ring whilst we have our hands tied. Could this possibly be a challenge to the voter apathy that we have? But at the same time, citizens, do we as citizens understand the power that we have, and do we understand our rights? We'll be having a series of these conversations. So, you know, we break down the role of MPs, but at the same time, helping citizens understand the sort of influence that they have to hold MPs and the government to account. Remember, this program was probably brought to you by Conrad Adenauer Stiftung, and we'll see you next time.